that I have the opportunity this evening of being present in a land that I became aware of as a young man. I remember over 25 years ago, when I started going to school, I heard about this land of Igbo from great writers such as Chinua Achebe. If it was not Chinua Achebe that I was reading Flora Nwapa. And if it was not Flora, I was reading the poetry of Christopher Okigbo. And if I went beyond Igbo land, if I was not reading Okigbo, I was reading Cyprian Ekwensi. And if I was not reading Ekwensi, I was reading Wole Soyinka. So that even in those early days, I was able to recognize that what a young man cannot see standing on the Iroko tree, an old man will see sitting down. I remember those days with nostalgia. And I also remember that it was not only in the realm of literature that I met great Nigerians. The first person to teach me English through his book was another great Nigeria, Ogundipe. So that Nigeria and Igbo land has always been present in our lives in Africa. And when we started talking about the independence of Africa, if one did not read the great Zik of Africa, Nnamdi Azikiwe, one was not reading history. So there is a sense in which Nigeria and Igbo land has always been present. I remember not once, not twice, it being said in jest that if you go to any part of the world and you do not find an Igbo, run away from that place because that is not a good place. And that is why, therefore, I'm able to say, when I stand before you here in the presence of greatness, that Nigeria has always remained alive. If with the departure of Chinua Achebe or Flora Nwapa, the world thought Nigeria could no longer produce literature, your own Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie has emerged in the world. And if Hollywood and Bollywood thought that we could not produce theater, the great Pete Edochie and Yul Edochie have emerged from this land. And did not stop from Yul or Pete Edochie. On a daily basis, we are marveling about Genevieve Naji. And we are not only marveling about Genevieve Naji, Patience Oziakwo is also in our minds. And if we go further into the land of Oduduwa, Olu Jacobs is also present in our minds. So Nigeria remains great because Nigeria has been the cradle of culture in the continent of Africa. You know, when one thinks about Nigeria, one knows that Nigeria is the greatest nation on the continent of Africa. If one were to be dramatic about it, at the risk of repeating what others have said, one would say that when Nigeria catches a cold, all other African countries get cancer. But we are not going to be melodramatic about it. We are simply going to recognize that today we are present in this assembly courtesy of the O.B. Jackson Foundation to celebrate culture. And culture is not anything that is fossilized in the past. Culture is dynamic. It changes on a daily basis. But it's true that unless we are wedded to our cultural values, then we as a people, whether we are in Okija in Nigeria, or in Nairobi, Kenya, or in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, or in Dakar, Senegal, we as the people of the continent of Africa will never be recognized for who we are. For those who know say that as long as the lions do not have historians, it is the exploits of the hunters that will be celebrated rather than the bravery of the lion. Today, therefore, we come here to celebrate culture, and we come to celebrate culture at the behest of the O.B. Jackson Foundation, an event that started 5 years ago. It is no longer an event. It has graduated into a festival, and I dare say that it must even have graduated to a movement. That is why we have men and women who have been drawn from different parts of Africa to be present here this evening at midnight to celebrate culture. I have sat down and I've listened and I've understood, and I now say that I've reached the stage in my submissions to you to say, Ndibo ekene munu.